Well, my friends, I got good news and bad news. The good news is we got an opponent to go fight in 2377. We queued up for KvK and we got a match. Hooray. The bad news is that every kingdom on the map said, you know what? Let's all gang up on 2377. Wait, hold up. Hold up. In a world where it's pretty conventional to do like a 2v2, they're trying to take an easy KvK, I think. It's unclear to me what it ultimately is, the motivation, although apparently one of the kingdoms in this grouping does this regularly. It's like a throwback to 2018 or 2019 when people didn't know how to play the game and they took easy KvKs and killed their kingdoms. But here we are, because this may not be an easy KvK. In fact, the community is really split as to whether or not 2377 and our campmate 3473 fighting all these other kingdoms is a fair fight or not. So in this video, we'll break it all down. Why it is we queued, who it is that we're fighting and the data behind it, and whether or not it's winnable. So let's start with why is it that we queued right away? Now look, I'm a big believer in Asmongold's wisdom that great accusations require great evidence. I don't have this evidence, but after fighting 1960, we didn't particularly want to go fight them again. Certainly not right away. But the rumor on the street was that 960 was going to try to queue snipe us, because they also don't want to get a match not found. And the best way to assure that is to queue for a KvK where 2377 is. So in order to avoid that possibility, I think it's pretty smart. And I don't know if this is like 100% fully the reason why we queued when we did, but I feel like it's pretty smart and pretty reasonable for us to have queued up to avoid that situation. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't want to fight 1960 right now. I don't know of any kingdom in the game that wants to fight 1960. I barely know of any players that think that's a good idea to go fight 1960. Genuinely. Because at the end of the day, and I said this in my prior video after fighting them, don't bother queuing against them if you are not going to have 100% of your domain registered accounts online for the entirety of the KvK. Just don't queue. There's no reason to queue. You're losing. You're going to lose 100%. Unless 100% of your accounts will be online 24/7. And you've been resourced in advance of the KvK so that potential resource supply lines are not disrupted in some way. Great accusations require great evidence. I don't have the evidence. I simply know that I would not queue without having all the resources lined up in advance, all the accounts set up to be online 24/7. And if you're not doing that, don't queue against them. We don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So we're not queuing against them. We try to avoid it. And where do we end up? Right back to me, says Thanos. So here we are. And instead of it being a 2v2, we have this 3v1 situation. Now look, the funny thing is that if you ask players, is 3v1 fair or is 2v2 fair, you get some interesting responses. I looked through Facebook and the general community sentiment seems to be that whoever 2377 allied was just going to win the KvK. So the matchmaking doesn't seem to have been designed for a 2v2, at least at first blush. It's the sort of perception that 2377, no matter who we ally, would just win. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but let's assume it is. The other thing that players seem to feel is that 1v3 is pretty oppressive in this landscape. I mean, maybe we can win, but it ain't going to be easy. I'll tell you that much. So people are looking at this matchmaking from the community standpoint and saying 2v2 doesn't make any sense, and 1v3 kind of doesn't make any sense. And so whether or not it makes sense doesn't actually matter to me. I'm in 2377. The king said we're fighting because obviously we queued for KvK, so he doesn't even need to say whether or not we're fighting. We are. And I'm locked the F in. Let's go. We're going to do what we can do and put up as much damage as we can until we win or we lose. And that's what everybody should be doing in any kingdom. It's not controversial to say. But it is going to be really interesting fighting against this many kingdoms. I have done this in the past, in 2605, when we queued into matchmaking where, like, I don't know, whatever. We did it. For better or worse, choices were made, and we did it. And I have experience with this sort of situation, and it ain't easy. Could it be winnable? Yes. And thankfully, we have a campmate, which is kind of wild. Like, for a 2v2 situation, you'd think that whoever was doing this matchmaking did not balance our war camp for 2v2. Like, you almost would think someone was looking at this and treating 2377 like they're the freshest kingdom on the face of the earth and they're hungry for a 1v3, right? Like, I don't know. Let's go look at the data. Let's talk about that. This is the table that was shared with me. I'm not sure what the second and the third numbers are, but I think the first number is domain registered power. I believe that our domain registered power for our war camp is 52.1 billion. And you're looking at 4.1 trillion kill points and, a little over 14.5 billion dead troops for our war camp. For East Anglia, and by the way, the exact kingdoms we're going to be in, or war camps we're going to be in, is not decided yet. This is the King of All Britain, KvK. So at the end of our Eve of the Crusade, there'll be a drafting portion where starting zones are drafted. So keep that in mind. But the next war camp is 47.4 billion domain power and 2 trillion kill points just about. 56.2 billion for the next war camp and 2 trillion kill points. And over here, 64 billion on the domain power and 2 trillion kill points. So, like, obviously, whoever we allied with, we've got a field advantage. And, like, that was very knowable. Like, anyone looking at this data would say one of these things is not like the others. And, like, obviously, 2377 is not like the others, right? Like, obviously. Are we so much not like the others that we can offset a 2 trillion KP deficit? Maybe. Like, I don't have the answers here. I'm here to pose questions. Because at the end of the day, I'll repeat this because leadership's about repetition and also people might misunderstand. So let's repeat it. I'm locked to the FN. I'm going to go all out. I'm going to contribute 100%. And that's what everyone in every kingdom should be doing, right? There's always roaches, okay? There's always roaches. Once again, leaning on the wisdom of Asmongold and his verbiage, right? But there's always a roach who's going to try to scurry off into the shadows to escape a situation and go to some other kingdom. Okay, sure. But what every player in every kingdom should aspire to do is give 100%, right? Until they drop. That's what you do. So this is going to be an interesting KvK. I do think it is winnable for us. I think that a series of things will have to be true for that to be the case. We'll have to execute. And if we can do that, it is theoretically possible. I think a part of what makes this style of game fun is that, like, you can look at the data, you can have your opinions, but at the end of the day, like, you gotta like show up and you gotta see who shows up. And not everybody will show up in the way that you expect, and that's what makes it interesting. You just don't know what's going to happen. So consider subscribing. Consider subscribing because I think this is going to be a really spicy KvK. And, well, let's jump in game again. The thing we can go do while we're here is just, like, get a look at kind of what kingdoms are in this KvK. And like, okay, we know who's here, but, like, let's go look at our campmate real quick and get a peek at their alliance and get a peek at some of the other alliances that are on the map here, all right? So if we get a look around, this is our ally, and they are under 10 billion power at the time I'm going and looking. They are a 1v3 KvK winner. Were they the 1 or the 3? I would assume they're the 1, the way they've worded it, and they've won 4 KvKs. That said, they are a very, very young kingdom. No Liucha Alex City Hoppers allowed. Bro, that's actually kind of funny. Let's go look at the next kingdom here. Who else do we got? 1945. Okay. What are you guys up to? I feel like I haven't looked at 1945 in a hot minute here. Go to the, wait, is that? Okay. All these alliances are the same color? No. Yes, that is the Lost Temple. Okay. Oh, I mean, they're 10 billion power. Okay. Interesting. What else we got? How about 1807? Where are you at? You are what? What do we got? We got to look here. 8 billion power. So I mean, like, maybe it's fine. Maybe this is all fine. Maybe there's more alliances I need to be looking at. Let's look at the next one. I don't know what we're up against. 1079. Bro, I allied with 1079 back in the day. What are they up to? What are they looking like? What do they got? I remember Khan. What do they got? They are 11 billion power. Okay. Okay. And do they have a second alliance? Is this their second, maybe? No. Nobody really has a second alliance these days. Like, kingdoms have become one alliance phenomena, right? Like, a two alliance kingdom is like a weird anomaly these days. And I predicted that would be the pathway long, long ago. Now, the big imperiums are what we need to look at, right? 3308. Oh, cancel. Register? What am I clicking? I meant to just click the little look button. What is 3308 up to here? Are they a one alliance kingdom? Everybody is, I assume so. Lion Kings? Okay. They're 15 billion power. I mean, that's no small entity. 15 billion, huh? They're not fooling around. Okay. Interesting. What else we got? The other Imperium, 1903. What are they at? We get a look around here. 1903. That's the Shrine of Honor. Oh, I went way too far. Okay. They are 15 billion power. What the duck indeed. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Well, multiple 15 billion power alliances, huh? And then there's 1981. What are they at? All right, we've got what? 12.5 billion power. That's an alliance right there. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, history will remember these kingdoms either as bravely and boldly knowing that their only chance was to ally together, but perhaps they lose or win anyways. Or people will look at these kingdoms, depending on the outcome, and kind of make their assessment of like, not very courageous. I think it's probably, I don't know, 12 billion power on this alliance too. We got a lot of work ahead of us. At the end of the day, I'm not paid to think, I'm paid to fight, and I'm not paid, so I'm just going to show up and fight and give it my all. That is a crazy situation we are finding ourselves in here. And as far as our alliance goes, we are 23.3 billion power. It ain't nothing. I'll tell you what. It's going to be an interesting KvK. Alliance kills 3.3 trillion. GG. You enjoyed the vid? Throw a like on here, subscribe. Hell of a KvK ahead of us. And we'll see what happens, all right? Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.